Hey everyone, I thought I'd provide you a few comments to your work in Module Number 1 and its relationship to Module 2. If you'll look in the assignment Dropbox area of the course, you'll find that I provided feedback to you on your original document using track changes, and I also provided the rubric for the ARPs that we'll be using throughout the semester. On that rubric, I gave you some additional comments. In Module 1, you'll remember you read a little bit about dopamine rushes. And from a neuroscientific view, the process of learning from feedback that we give can be understood as a reinforcement learning process. So how you as a learner and how your students as learners perceive feedback can result in an increased, a neutral, or a decreased dopamine response. All of you experienced one of those three responses to the feedback that I gave you. My goal is that by the end of this conversation that you'll have a positive dopamine response as a result of the feedback that you received on Module 1. In Module 2, you'll learn how powerful feedback can be. And as you all know from working with your own students, learners often do not use and may not even read the feedback that you provide to them. Early studies way back to Thorndike in the 1930s, as well as subsequent researchers have found that when a grade is assigned along with feedback, there can be detrimental effects. So in Module 1, you'll see that I gave specific feedback to you, but assigned full credit. So this is my way of not assigning a grade, yet providing very specific suggestions and feedback to you for you to incorporate in your next ARPs. For each of you, I tried to provide feedback, and as Vygotsky would say, scaffolding that pushes you further to set performances a little bit beyond where you currently are. And that was very intentional and a necessary aspect of feedback if feedback is intended to facilitate learning rather than just evaluate your current performance. So use the feedback I provided to push yourself to a higher level, particularly in the next ARP. So in preparation for Module 2, you should consider the following factors in completing the module. The main reading for the module is a chapter by Hattie, Gann, and Brooks from the book Handbook of Research on Learning and Instruction. It summarizes all of the latest research on feedback. It is a densely rich reading, which will surely contain concepts with which you are not familiar. I suggest keeping your cell phone handy to search up some of the terms. It is not a chapter that can be read quickly, but it is typical of the type of reading expected in our EDS and EDD level coursework here at KSU. As you read through the chapter, I suggest you make notes about specific findings from the research, followed by a few notes capturing your analysis about what that finding means for your class or your school. For example, Hattie, Gann, and Brooks, 2017, note that when teachers provide tangible or extrinsic rewards as a form of feedback, intrinsic motivation for their students is undermined. Extrinsic rewards often lead students to place more emphasis on incentives, resulting in greater competition rather than enhancing their engagement in learning. And you'll find this information on page 306 in the text or in the chapter reading. Do you or does your school use programs, often corporate-based, or strategies which use extrinsic rewards as feedback? Examples might include things like Accelerated Reader or Pizza Hut's Book It, Food for Reading program. Briefly describe what that practice might be. If it's something you do in your own class, how may you consider changing it or addressing it? If it's a grade level or school-wide practice, what are your options for addressing it or informing others? In your ARP response, you should provide ample details and examples of your current feedback practices and how you'd improve the nature and type of feedback you give your students. Be sure to cite the readings as support for what you intend to do to change or to support the practices you currently do that you will continue. And in the feedback for Module 1, I made notes on several of your comments that if you refute the findings that are reported in the research, then you should support your disagreement with a citation as well. So I hope you happy reading, and I hope your summer's going well, and I look forward to continuing to work with you this semester. Thanks.